Okay, please start out by putting your name and date. Today is the 2nd of November. And then the essential question for today, again, we're eating the final one bite at a time, and the bite for today is, how do you solve for y? So in other words, if you have an equation that has two variables in it, an x and a y, how would you get y by itself? So the name of the assignment that I'm reviewing, it is already in your gradebook, I put it as a 0, is called slope from an equation. And the equation that we're discussing in this particular case is y plus 2. The name of the question that we're dealing with is y plus 2 equals negative 2 times x minus 3. So let's start by writing that down. And we're probably going to run out of room in this little box. So y plus 2 equals, and then the other side, negative 2 times x minus 3. Negative 2 times x minus 3. Okay, the very first thing that you notice is that there's an x and there's a y. Now, this is an equation that you've seen in 8th grade before. Notice that I'm taking up both of these boxes. When I was estimating this morning, it's going to take both of these boxes at least, maybe another box underneath there. Okay, we are going to get this y by itself. So when you solve for y, what that means is that you're getting the letter by itself. And the first thing is that we know at the end, our goal is to get y by itself. Okay, so this is where we're going to get to. We're going to get down to where y is by itself. Now to do that, I'm going to start by distributing. So my plan is first I'm going to distribute. And I know I'm going to distribute because I see parentheses. Anytime I see parentheses, I know I need to distribute. And then the only other thing that I have to do here, there's a plus 2 with the y, so I have to move the 2. And after I move the 2, I'm done. So let's start out by distributing. I'm going to draw an arrow that goes from here to here, and then another one that goes from here to here. And that arrow means multiply. So I have negative 2 times x to x, and negative 2 times negative 3. Negative times negative is a positive, so this is positive 6. 2 times 3 makes 6. Then I'm going to bring this side down here. Okay, and like I said, the equal sign always goes on the wall. So my first step was to distribute, and I'm still trying to get y by itself. This is what I'm trying to get by itself, so it should be at the end I have y alone, and then x is going to be over here. That's perfectly okay. There's going to be a letter over here, but it's a different letter. So when I say solve for y, I mean get this letter by itself. So basically what I'm teaching you today is that some situations you have two letters, and I can say solve for this letter, and that means get that letter by itself. But you're always going to have two letters. Okay, and then my last step is going to be to subtract the 2. Okay, when I go to the other side, it would be tempting to put the minus 2 over here. I'm not going to do that because I would need an x to put it under there. That would line up there. So I'm not going to put the 2 underneath the x term. I'm going to put the 2 underneath the numerical term, the term that doesn't have an x. And then I'm going to draw a big long line. And I'm going to cancel my opposites. And then I've got what I wanted, which is that y is now by itself. So y is by itself, which is great, because now I've solved for y. Thank you. So let's see, 6 minus 2 is 4. And then I have to bring this straight down, negative 2x plus 4. I cannot combine those. Excuse me, sorry. This has an x and this does not have an x. Those are called not like terms, and so I am done. Check. I am done with this problem. How do I solve for y? In this case, I distributed, and then second, I subtracted 2. This was a two-step problem. You have to distribute, and then you have to subtract the 2. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, now we've got a slightly different kind of problem. The x and the y are both on the same side of the equal sign, and then this numerical factor 5 is on the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to do what I need to get y by itself. So I've got 7x plus 2y equals to 5, and the instructions say solve for y. So I need to get y by itself. So I'm trying to move everything away from y. What do I mean by that? Y says he hates everybody. I hate x. Okay, please help a y out by getting x away from y. What can we do to get the x away from the y? How would we move this term to the other side? We're going to move this guy over here. By subtracting him, that's exactly right. Minus 7x here, minus 7x here. Life is good. That was pretty easy. So I'm going to move. Y pushes the x over to the other side, and he does that by subtracting him. And then I cancel my opposites, and you'll notice what happens. The x disappears from this side and reappears on the other side as the opposite. Gone, and now it's over here. So 2y I bring down, equal sign goes on the wall, and I'm going to write this down exactly how I say it. 5 minus 7x. Please say this out loud, Hector. 5, but I'm going to write it sideways. 5 minus 7x. Now, there's a lot of people in here, when they take the tests, they're going to be confused right now, and they're going to say that's -2. You can't do that. You can't combine these because they don't both have an x. So you just write it down the same way that you say it. On the test, just write it down like this. And then my last step is going to be to get rid of the 2. I'm going to divide by it. Now, this is new. When I have 2 terms over here, I can't just divide one thing by 2. I have to divide them both by 2. So let me do that again. So I know I'm going to divide, whoop, there's my x again. I know I'm going to divide by 2, but what's new for today is that if I divide this side by 2, I have to divide everything by 2. So this divide by 2, this divide by 2, this divide by 2. Divide by 2, and then divide by 2. Okay, everything that was okay. I'm going to do it again. That wasn't that bad. I'm going to divide everything by 2. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And then I cancel these, they're opposites. And now I have successfully solved for y. So I have solved for y. I know that because y is by itself. I'm going to go ahead and take up this box. That's okay. And then it's equal to 5 over 2 minus 7 over 2. And then let's write out a reminder where to look for the slope, because you're going to need to know that to do this assignment. Slope is, where is the slope? No, where is it in the equation? That's 1 of x and flux of x. So y equals mx plus b is the equation. Slope m is the number in front of x. Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. I certainly hope that you remember that, because that's one of the 2 or 3 things that I've taught you. I've taught you to move things from one side to the other. I taught you that slope is in front of the x, and it's the rise over the run. And I taught you that a function machine turns an input into an output. I taught you 3 things over the course of a semester. Those are what I want you to know. Okay, what is in front of x? What's in front of x is -7 over 2. So my answer is -7 over 2. Okay, there's only 2 more of these that I want to do. I'm recording again. All right, so let's put a star next to this kind of equation, because it's the kind of equation that you guys are going to have on the final. 2 over x minus 4. Okay, and notice what's terrible about this thing. I'm going to put a star on this, star. Okay, so this, I'm telling you right now, this is exactly the kind of question that you're going to have on the final. So the other 2 are like the homework, and they're good practice for moving x's around, but this is the kind you had on the final. It's going to have an x on the denominator, which is horrible. So it's a really horrible question with an x on the denominator. We're going to take up both these boxes. Okay, and the question is going to say, solve for x. So let's make a plan to solve for x. First, I need to get the x Okay, I'm going to say first move the 4. Sorry. Second, get the x. Third, it's not that bad, but it's just a completely different kind of problem that we've had. First, we're going to move the 4. Then we're going to get x out of the denominator, and then we're going to divide to get x by itself. But what we divide by is going to be kind of weird. Okay, here I go. First, I am going to move the -4 by plussing 4. Now, that was the easy parts. Okay, and then I'm going to cancel my opposites. Okay, so x is getting closer to being by itself. Incidentally, when the instructions say solve for x, this is what I want to get by itself. So at the end, it's going to say x equals something. So when it says solve for x, this is where I want to get to. I'm going to go from what this is until x is all by itself. Then I've solved for x. Okay, so I'm going to write this down exactly the way I say it. Y plus 4 equals, now the 4 has gone away from over here and it reappeared on the other side, so I've got 2 divided by x here. Okay, and now I'm going to be on to step 2. Step 2, get x out of the denominator. Where's the denominator? The denominator is right there. In other words, I'm not used to seeing x on the bottom of a fraction at all. So the next thing I need to do as an emergency is to do everything I can to get x out of there. So first, I'm going to put this in parentheses because I'm going to about to multiply it. I'm going to multiply both things there. So first, put this in parentheses. How do I get x out of the denominator? I'm going to do the opposite of divide by x. The opposite of divide by x is times x. What did I just do? Okay, this says 2 divided by x. I'm trying to get x out of the denominator, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to times by x. I'm going to times this side by x, and now x is out of the denominator. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to times this side by x. So I'm timesing both sides by x. Then x is going to cancel over here. And now there's no more x here in the denominator. Now the x has reappeared over here, but it's on the top, and I'm used to seeing it on the top. So let me show you that again. We don't like having x on the bottom. So I times this side by x, and I times that side by x. And now x is out of the bottom. So there's only 2 that's left over here. And then equals, now the other side is x times y plus 4, parentheses. Okay, so I've done step 1, I've done step 2, and now I'm about to do step 3. No, not all over. Okay, so now I'm going to divide to get x by itself. So this is new too. So we're used to seeing, okay, a problem like this, 3x equals 6. So the opposite of times is divide, and you divide both sides and then you cancel your opposites and you get x is 2. We're totally used to that. But the opposite of times is still divide. So I can get rid of the y plus 4 term, this entire binomial term, by dividing by it. So I'm going to divide by this whole thing, y plus 4. And that's the reason why when I was doing this in class, I talked about Hector divided by Hector. So it's absolutely the case that anything divided by itself cancels. So y plus 4 divided by itself does cancel. Anything divided by itself cancels. So y plus 4 divided by y plus 4, well, that cancels. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side, y plus 4. And then I can cancel my opposites. And now I've done what I wanted to, which is that x is all by itself. So I've solved for x because x is equal to something. What is x equal to? X is equal to 2 divided by y plus 4. Okay, we're going to do one more example just like that. It's going to have 3 steps. Move something, get x out of the denominator, and then divide. Okay, I got to finish this question really quickly. Y equals 4 divided by x plus 9, let's say. Okay, I'm going to follow the same 3 steps. This is just another example of exactly the same thing. So not move the plus 3. This time I'm going to move the plus 9. All right, I'm going to go really quickly. That's okay. The opposite of plus 9 is minus 9. So I'm going to do minus 9 to this side, minus 9 to that side. Okay, so now I cancel the minus 9 and the plus 9. I write down exactly what I say, y minus 9. You'll notice that these two things are not the same. This is 1y, this is minus 9. And so I just have that by itself is equal to 4 divided by x. I almost put 4 divided by 4. Okay, I'm going to put this right-hand side or left-hand side in parentheses because I'm about to multiply by it. Now I'm going to do step 2, get x out of the denominator. I'm going to multiply this by x. I'm going to multiply this by x. Cancel your opposites. And x is out of the denominator. It moved from the bottom on this side to the top on this side. So now it's up here. Y minus 9. And that's equal to 4. And then step 3. What's step 3? What is step 3? Somebody say it. No, I'm not going to divide the x. I'm going to divide to get x by itself. So this is what I'm moving. I'm trying to get x equal because that's where x is solved. So I'm going to divide by y minus 9. I divide the other side by y minus 9. Cancel my opposites. And now y is by itself. So I've solved for x. And it's 4 divided by y minus 9. Okay, so that's how to do that problem.